Good evening, everyone. It is a great pleasure to meet all of you once again in our ConnextAI webinar today. Leadership is not about being on top of many other people. It is a responsibility and ownership towards the vision. With this note, I would like to introduce the topic of today, upholding leadership during crisis. There is going to be two interesting sessions, I would say, leadership, directions, and perspectives, and also an introduction of a very wonderful book, One More Step. The real leaders in action are going to share their experiences with us today. I take immense pleasure in introducing the speakers of today's webinar. Dr. C. Panduranga Bhatta, a former professor, IIM of Calcutta, with more than 40 years of experience in education and teaching research. He contributed towards many, many important things. He is a renowned Indologist over the world. He even conducts leadership and management programs and illuminated many young minds today. He is also the founder of Samanvaya Academy of Excellence. His honor, he got like many prestigious awards, even the Jawaharlal Nehru Award twice. It is a great pleasure to have you with us today, sir. Our next speaker, Dr. Chandrasekhar DP, with more than 18 years of experience as a leader at the intersection of education, entrepreneurship, and empowerment. Currently, his life mission is to inspire and impact 1 million children through education. He even wants to leverage all his experiences to create a better schooling system in India. He is an alumnus of IIM Calcutta, and he is a valued advisor and sought after speaker in the Indian education sector. Recently, he was even listed in the 40 under 40 in the Times. He is also the CEO of JJI Schools. It is a great pleasure to have you with us today, sir. So to begin the session, I would like to welcome Mr. Aslam, the CGO of SmartAir, to take over and do the honor.
Thank you, Ratika. Good evening, Professor Bhatta sir. Good evening, Dr. Chandrasekhar, and good evening to all participants on this leadership series webinar. So, sir, it is always happy to see you interact with us. Today we're going to talk about leadership in a crisis topic. So our team has worked on and prepared a series of questions for you, so that you can share your views on these questions. To start with, I would like to question you on this one, which is COVID-19 heightens the demand for leadership, sir. So, from your experience, could you please illustrate your leadership excellence module for us? Sir, you are on mute, sir. Can you unmute, sir?
Okay. Before I answer the question, I would like to sincerely thank Mr. Swaminathan, CEO, and Mr. Aslam, CDO of SmartAir. They have given me a wonderful opportunity for sharing some of my experiences related to leadership. I also welcome all the participants of this webinar from India and abroad. I wish to share a few points from my leadership excellence module, which has been recently converted into a book by me and my colleague at IIM Calcutta, Professor Pragyan Rath, and published under the title The Art of Leading in a Borderless World by Bloomsbury, India. I joined IIM Calcutta in 1997. The Management Center for Human Values, which is also called as MCHV, at IIM Calcutta gave me tremendous opportunity to try my own leadership model based on the lessons drawn from the East and the West. Over the years, this module became very popular and got feedback from students and faculty and the CEOs and MDs of companies in in-company programs and management development programs, etc. At the beginning, I would like to give you a few points about the importance of feedback which helps in improving our leadership style. I talk of both negative and positive feedback. In 2002, I announced a 5-day program, management development program at IIM Calcutta on creative excellence in management. Executives from many public and private companies and banks participated in this program. I collected the feedback on the last day of the program. When I looked into the feedback, I felt very bad because it was negative. Now I have two options. Option one, I can reject the feedback because it is negative. Option two, I can accept the feedback and try to improve on the negative points mentioned by the participants. I accepted the second option. I accepted the feedback wholeheartedly and noted the negative points mentioned by the participants and took steps to improve on those points. After that, I did announce a program, similar program in Taj West End in Bangalore. After 6 months' time, there were more than 40 participants, including some who came from the Gulf countries. Believe me or not, this time feedback was very positive and highly appreciative, and I felt very happy. After this, I conducted many programs at many places in India and at some places in foreign countries. Now, I would like to share a point regarding positive feedback. In one program conducted by me at Dhaka in Bangladesh very recently, some participants at the end told me, "Your sessions were unparalleled." I welcomed their comment and left the comment inside the program room while coming out of the room. If I carry these high complimentary words with me, they may spoil my next program because I may become complacent. Sachin Tendulkar comes to my mind. He has a clean slate approach. He was not carrying the good and bad remarks, comments that appeared in the media on his previous matches to his first match, to his next match. He used to consider every match as his first match. I quote Kumaramangalam Birla, chairman of Aditya Birla Group, who talks of 3 points feedback strategy. Feedback should be collected, analyzed, and acted upon. I hope this convinces you about why we are collecting feedback and all those things.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. I think the importance of feedback and not just taking the feedback, analyzing and acting on the feedback is one of the important leadership lessons. I think it has been said by you in a storytelling model, but the point is very clear. Let me move on to the next question that we have. Jim Collins established in his famous book Good to Great that humility, which leads to lifelong learning, is the greatest virtue for upholding leadership. So, can you share with us if there are any personal example to justify this?
Yeah. Yes, I have one great personal example to illustrate this virtue. I was attending a conference, international conference at Kyoto in Japan in 1996. Dr. Karan Singh, Indian Cultural Ambassador, was also attending the conference. Organizers arranged a bus for all the participants to travel from Osaka to Kyoto, which was a 2 hours journey. I entered the bus and occupied the last seat as the bus was almost full and it was ready to depart. Dr. Karan Singh entered the bus and he was looking for a seat. As it was almost full, he came to the last seat and he asked me, "Can I sit next to you?" I stood up and told him politely, "Sir, it's my pleasure." After taking his seat, he asked me, "Who are you?" I told him, "I am an Indologist working at Pondicherry Central University." Then he told me, "I am happy to discuss a few things related to Indian culture during the travel so that I may learn a few things from you." I told him, sir, you are a master of Indian culture and there is nothing to learn from me. He politely told me, it is not like that. The knowledge is endless. By that time, the chief organizer of the conference rushed to our seat and told Dr. Karan Singh, I have reserved a seat for you in the front row. Dr. Karan Singh told him, I am very happy with the company of an Indologist and there is no need to disturb me. Then we continued exchanging ideas throughout the long journey. Dr. Karan Singh's humility impressed me very much. At the end, I asked Dr. Karan Singh, Sir, will you accept my invitation to visit Pondicherry University to deliver a talk? He said, why not? We have become good friends. After the conference, I had gone to Pondicherry University and prepared for a workshop on discovering and understanding India for IAS, IPS officers, school principals and teachers, management professors, and MBA students of Pondicherry University. I just posted an invitation to Dr. Karan Singh, inviting him to come over to Pondicherry and deliver the inaugural address. To my surprise, he accepted our invitation. He readily agreed to come over to Pondicherry all the way from Delhi. He came over one day and he participated in our workshop and delivered the inaugural address. One more thing, what I learned from Dr. Karan Singh is time management. When he arrived at the university for delivering his address, he asked me, at what time is my lecture? I told him it is scheduled at 6 p.m. He told me that we should be entering the program venue at 5:59 p.m., not 1 minute earlier, not 1 minute later. Can you arrange this? I told him we can do that. We entered the workshop venue exactly at 5:59 p.m. His address duration was 45 minutes. When he finished the address, I looked at the watch. It was showing 6:45 p.m. Now, I give one more example from Indian literature to support learning from everyone. Watch what Dr. Karan Singh exhibited. Our sacred scripture, the Rig Veda, says, Ano Bhadraha Kratavo Yantu Vishwataha. Let noble thoughts come to us from all quarters. As we all know, in the Ramayana, Lord Rama asked his brother Lakshmana to learn from Ravana when Ravana was about to die. This is something unique, as Rama was asking Lakshmana to learn from their own enemy. Similarly, in the Mahabharata, Yudhishthira learns the principles of governance, Rajadharma, from Bhishma, who was on his deathbed, and moreover, Bhishma was their enemy. I am reminded of a beautiful story which I quote in most of my programs of ancient Indian king Ashoka the Great, who was a true follower of Lord Buddha. Ashoka made it an invariable practice to bow down in reverence before Buddhist monks. His master, by name Yasha, thought it was wrong and improper for a great emperor to bow down before monks. Ashoka told him, I am bowing down to monks as a mark of deep respect for their learning, wisdom, and sacrifice. What matters in life is not a person's status or position, but his virtues and wisdom. Ashoka further told him, the finest minds and hearts may be hidden in ugly mortal frames. Humility, simplicity, and urge to learn from everyone, lifelong learning, and managing time very effectively are the eternal values of leadership excellence.
Thank you, sir, for quoting and explaining this with various examples. So often we get carried away with not following either time management or the knowledge of experts that we don't hear, which aptly matches with the pandemic time where we are going through, where people are not hearing to the experts in terms of wearing mask and maintaining social distancing. So this lessons we can take it up and probably articulate it in various aspects in our day to day. Thank you, sir. Other question for you, sir, is like, could you share us what other ingredients of excellence you see in leadership that you want to share with us?
Yes. One more ingredient of excellence in leadership, according to me, is speed. I will narrate a story that happened long back, which shows the importance of speed in excellence. Infosys co-founder, Mr. Narayan Murthy, appeared in the Walk the Talk show conducted by Shekhar Gupta of Indian Express on NDTV in the year 2002. I watched the show where Murthy was answering all important questions related to leadership while riding a bicycle. This Walk the Show impressed me very much. Therefore, I simply sent an email requesting Mr. Murthy to send a CD of the Walk the Talk. At that time, we were not having recording facilities, YouTube, all those things. I got the reply within 30 minutes. The reply was, it will be sent. I was stunned by the speed with which my mail was answered. When I waited for the CD, our postman brought a packet on the third day, which contained 2 CDs sent by Murthy's secretary. When I opened the cover, it had 2 CDs, one on Walk the Talk, another on expansion plan of Infosys. When I was reading about Murthy, I found his favorite quote: speed, imagination, and excellence in execution are the 3 time and context invariant attributes of a successful corporation. The incident mentioned by me proves beyond doubt that Murthy follows whatever he preaches. The speed, within 30 minutes, he answered my mail. Within 3 days, he sent the CDs. And imagination, he thought this professor is going to talk about excellence in Infosys. So let him show one, anyhow, Walk the Talk, another expansion plans of Infosys. This is it. And excellence in execution, the entire thing, the operation, so to say, posting and talking and all those things, left a deep impact on my mind. I remember always. So the Infosys leadership, when I talk of, when I watch so many videos, when I read books, etc., practice is very important. They don't preach too many things, but they practice. And I can recall their important motto here: powered by intellect, driven by values. Let me share another small incident, for example, about excellence, because Aslam asked me to spell out the ingredients of excellence. The great philosopher Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. This carried a deep impression on me, and I was quoting this in most of my programs. Even Aslam attended two programs, and I would have quoted this also. This is one of my favorite quotes. What happened when I was quoting this in one of my programs that I conducted in IIM Calcutta, Dr. Harsha, Deputy Police Commissioner of Bengaluru, was a participant. Then when I quoted this, he said, sir, I want to share an experience. I said, go ahead. He said he was on duty near Infosys campus, Bengaluru. He was visiting the campus often to discuss security-related issues. He said he used to be stunned by the cleanliness maintained at Infosys campus. He said, Infosys remains Infosys always. What is the meaning? They don't clean up the campus on any particular day or add anything extra to attract the attention of VVIPs like Prime Minister of Japan, or President of Singapore. So this is a beautiful concept. This illustrates that for Infosys, excellence is a habit. We should follow this instead of talking excellence too many times. At the end of a lecture delivered by Narayan Murthy in Calcutta, I was attending that lecture. One college girl student asked a question to Murthy at the end. Q&A session was conducted. She was very bold. She asked her, Murthy, your session was excellent, but we have a problem. Murthy asked her, what is the problem? She said, our problem is most of us are unemployed. Immediately Murthy said, most of you are not unemployed. Most of you are unemployable. We have to stop and think. Yes, this observation of Murthy made everyone assembled there to think for a while. It is true that it is not true that only a degree from a reputed college is enough. Many people say that you do IIM degree, IIT degree, it is enough, you will be recruited and you will carry through. That is not correct. It is not at all correct. Why? We should develop leadership skills that are required at workplaces. Swaminathan and Aslam, they know what type of work ethics, work culture, work skills they expect from the participants or from their employees. So these skills are not taught in most of the educational institutions, including IIMs and IITs. I don't have any hesitation because I worked in IIM almost for 20 years. What are these skills? You may be surprised and you want to know at least. So these skills belong to emotional and spiritual intelligence domain. I don't want to go into deep. Next time, maybe if Aslam invites me for one more session, I will do all those things. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Sir, as you have been part of the Management Center for Human Values at IIMC for more than 20 years, could you please enlighten about the practice of ethical values in today's context?
Many times, people get confused with value preaching and value practice. I was addressing a team of foreign professors who visited IIM Calcutta for a project. They requested me to give them a tagline for practicing values. I gave them a tagline, being honest when no one is watching. This was highly appreciated. A few cricketers like G.R. Vishwanath, belonging to old generation, walking towards the pavilion before the umpire confirming the LBW decision comes to my mind. Some auto drivers in Bangalore, I have heard this, I have read this news many times, depositing at the police stations the huge amount left in their auto rickshaws by the passengers is also another example of value practice. And also being honest when no one is watching. You can simply take that money, no police will catch you, but you are honest and you know it doesn't belong to you and you want to return. When you apply this principle at your workplace, many issues may come, many issues you may face. I want to discuss one important issue. Can you use your office facilities, cars, computers, so many other things for a personal work? This is discussed in most of the books dealing with ethics. Now, I will give you, as I was while talking to Chandrasekhar, I told, I will give you a lot of examples from my personal life. In fact, Aslam requested me to share my experience instead of quoting from books and all those things. That is the purpose also. So it's a story of a Director General of Police who impressed me with his ethical behavior, which is a rare example in the present day world. He is now 87 or 88. Yesterday, I called him to inquire about his well-being. He said he is maintaining perfect health and perfect activities also. Only he said, because of COVID, I am not able to carry out many activities. Fine. What happened? Mr. C.L. Ramakrishnan, his name is C.L. Ramakrishnan, DGP. Probably he served MGR and Karunanidhi, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister, I'm referring. So he was serving as the Director General of Police under Tamil Nadu government. He had registered for part-time PhD at the Pondicherry Sanskrit department under my supervision while he was still in service. This is another example of lifelong learning. Police officer, DGP, you are retiring maybe in another 1 year's time, but you want to do PhD. Yes, facilities are there nowadays. You can register as a part-time student and all those. But he decided to utilize that facility. He came to Pondicherry University department and all those things. Now, the story is about this. One day, he was coming to Pondicherry from Chennai to write the first year PhD examination. A few weeks before the exam, two sub-inspectors from Kadalur police station came to my house in Pondicherry. They told me that DGP is coming to write the exam, and as Kadalur falls under Tamil Nadu circle, we have to provide security for him during his visit. For this purpose, they said they will book a hotel room and leave 2 cars at his disposal. Wherever he wants to go, let him go. I thought this is the procedure for DGP security and conveyed this to Mr. Ramakrishnan. What happened? He was furious when I told 2 sub-inspectors met me in my house and they want to make foolproof arrangement for your visit. He became furious. He said, how they got this news that I am going to Pondicherry? This is personal. I am going there, not for any public work. I am going there for personal work like writing an examination. And I don't want to use any facility, any office facility. I don't want to use. He scolded them over the phone for their initiatives. I came to know about these things. Then he told me, writing an examination in the university is a personal affair. All of us know that. And he is not supposed to use any official facility for this purpose. Later, he contacted me over the phone and asked me whether your university has a guest house. I said, yes, sir. Then how can I go next day from guest house to university? Yes, sir. They are running daily buses. Morning trip starts at about 9 a.m. You can avail that. Okay. Then he said, can I book a room in the guest house? Sir, you are having the PhD student ID card. Using that, you can book in Pondicherry in any guest house, of course, coming under government, Pondicherry government, because doctoral students and other students have been given that. Okay, he said. Then the day arrived. One day before the examination, he traveled from Chennai to Pondicherry by bus. He did not use any facility, his car or somebody else's car, nothing of that. Then he stayed in the guest house. Next day morning at 9 a.m., he was waiting for the university bus. Bus came there. He got into the bus and he reached the university and he wrote the examination. Now there is a crucial point. Examination got over by 12 noon. Now there is no return trip offered by university. Return trip will be available 4 p.m. only. So what to do? Where to wait? All this. He did not wait there. He simply walked 2 kilometers from the university to main gate and took the private bus and traveled to guest house. He did not get, of course, you can't think of getting a seat in a private bus that to 12 noon, etc. So he traveled and reached the guest house. So this is the story, and this left deep impact on me personally. So when you say that the being honest when no one is watching, who will question? If you use your own office car, your own office facility, who will question? Nobody will question. Nowadays, these things are taken for granted. sometimes what we do, sometimes we combine both personal thing and office thing. That's all. The problem is solved. Nobody can question it. But he was very conscious. I think he got the best cadet award from President at that time, I think, Dr. Abdul Kalam, and all those things. Even now, I think he is doing a lot of service, of course, free service in after retirement. Because I did not mention that he did a PhD on Advaita Vedanta. It's a philosophical topic. So he is delivering talks. So many sabhas, so many organizations in Chennai. Of course, he is using that. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of talking to him, and I mentioned about my book and all those things. So such leaders like Ramakrishnan, should be our role models for practicing ethics. Now I come to a little bit ancient India also, one or two examples. It is not that it started with Ramakrishnan or it started with T.N. Sheshan, not like that. So we have a perfect background. Our sources are very great. Ancient Indian political philosopher, Chanakya. So many books are there. Chanakya on management and all those things. Now I am telling a small story. It comes to my mind now. Chanakya's story comes to my mind. He was keeping two lamps for writing his letters. People became very curious and asked Chanakya, why are you keeping two separate lamps? Chanakya told them, there is a secret. What is the secret? Oil for one lamp comes from the treasury. And when I work on official matters, when I write official letters, I lit the first lamp. Good. And the oil for the second lamp comes from my own personal funds. When I have to do a little bit personal correspondence, I lit that lamp. This is fantastic, actually. And one more example, Sariyam Vishwesharaya. In fact, a great genius, and I have visited his house on Museum Road. Now, I think many of his relatives are not there, and I was fortunate to meet his granddaughter, but he is not having his brother's granddaughter-in-law, Shakuntala. She also passed away last year. What happened, I became very much interested in studying about Vishwesharaya. We don't have many books, we don't have many videos, one or two. So I just went and I collected a lot of material to reconstruct the ethical activities and leadership activities of Sariyam Vishwesharaya. She helped me, and I went to Devanahalli. There, his original home is also there, and of course, this is there. Library is there, one small library is there. When I was searching some books, etc., I got a small handout. Vishwesharaya in 1918 published this small letter interpreting leadership A to Z. This is fantastic, actually. So that there also a lot of these ideas, whatever you talk in modern language, modern management, like societal concern and ethical behavior, all those things are there. One thing what impacted me is ethical behavior. So I am talking of Chanakya, I am talking of Ramakrishna. So it's very relevant to talk a little bit of Vishwesharaya. He was having papers, both the personal papers and papers supplied by, stationery supplied by government. Now, when he has to write a personal letter, he used to hold the paper against the light to check whether there is any emblem, embossment, like Government of India, Government of Karnataka. If there is any embossment, then he will not write on that particular paper. See personal letter. So what Kautilya was following, same thing was followed by. He was not using private cars, government, his office cars to go to a doctor and other things. That's also there. I'm not going to details of all those things. So now almost we have come to the end. When in doubt, what I have written, whether it was government paper or not, Vishwesharaya would examine in bright light to detect the embossed mark, government stationery. I think we should develop that. So my appeal now, before ending, my appeal to young leaders is not to sacrifice, do not sacrifice ethics for the short-term gains, because I have also started consequence management. So consequences of violating ethical norms are severe. you may feel very bad. I also request all the young leaders attending this webinar to adopt the tagline, being honest when no one is watching. In fact, not to boast myself, I'm not boasting. Once I received 70,000 rupees extra from the finance section while receiving what you call the arrears of sixth pay commission. We have our own calculation. So difference was 70,000 rupees. My calculation was showing less. Immediately I telephoned to the finance officer. He checked in, sir, I made a mistake. Could you please send that 70,000 rupees by check tomorrow? I said, it is my pleasure. So I'm happy now because, later they may find out, they may write 1, 2 letters and they may suspect this professor came to know that he has received 70,000 rupees more, but he did not. Then they may also say he is talking about ethics, he is talking about values, whatnot. So we have to be very careful about words. Okay, my time is almost up. Once again, I thank the organizers, particularly organizers of Small Tile, and Radhika is also there, and Aslam, many of you conducted the interview, very nice man, and Swaminathan also, my good friend. They have invited me again. I remember second time or third time. And the webinar participants, of course, many participants wrote to me. They are participating from Dubai and other places also. I thank them for taking this trouble, and thank you all.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Aslam, sir. Actually, the question that we all had in our mind, what a leader actually do when they have to uphold the leadership at the time of crisis, you clearly explained and made us understand, sir, in very, very short notes. A leader is not someone who just accepts the feedback. A leader is someone who actually analyzes and acts upon that feedback. And you also quoted that leadership is actually a lifelong practice. A good leader actually makes excellence as their own habit. And finally, leadership is all about upholding the ethics and values in everyday life. So, rightly as you mentioned, sir, leadership is more about upholding, being honest when no one else is watching. Thank you very much for the enlightening session, sir. Moving on to the next part of the session today, I would like to welcome Dr. Chandrasekhar EP, sir, and to tell us about what inspired you to write this book from your own experiences, sir. And what do you think would be the key takeaways for the readers of the book? And especially another question, why do you think this book is the ideal one for educators and students of today?
Thank you very much. Good evening to all of you. First of all, I want to thank the organizers, Mr. Swaminathan here, and also Mr. Aslam for giving me this opportunity to share my book on this forum. It's also a great honor and pleasure to speak at a forum where Professor Bhatta has been speaking. In fact, personally, for me, it has been a great learning for the last 30, 40 minutes. It's always nice to listen to real examples and stories from people around you. In fact, one example which I want to add to Professor Bhatta's lecture is when he was talking about being honest when nobody is watching you. I remember Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and especially the book which was written by his secretary, Mr. Nair, the secretary to Dr. Kalam when he was the president. Long story short, it seems that Dr. Kalam's family visits Rashtrapati Bhavan because they have never visited the north of the country. So they visit Delhi, they go around the entire city and visit all the monuments and other things. And it is a big family of almost 17 people who visits and stays there for more than 2.5 weeks in the Rashtrapati Bhavan. So the family returns back to Rameshwaram, and Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam calls his secretary PM Nair, and then he asks them to prepare a bill for all the facilities which the family used when they were staying at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, including the last cup of tea. And then he gives from his personal salary account a check which is documented, and clears the dues even before the treasury of the Rashtrapati Bhavan estimates and asks him for or whatever. I mean, this shows the kind of integrity what Professor Bhatta was talking about at the highest office of this country. So we normally have this opinion that government officials do not follow integrity. That's not true. There are people who have been following integrity, and I think he rightly said, especially youngsters should focus on being honest even when nobody is watching. So thank you very much, sir, for enlightening us. This is a great session. Now, coming to the book, personally, for me, the book has been a great journey of reliving those life changing moments of scaling the Everest Base Camp trek. Now, for all the benefit of the viewers and the attendees here, this was a trek which was conducted 3.5 years ago, and we did this expedition to Everest Base Camp with students. 25 students from Jain Group of Institution schools participated in this trek to Everest Base Camp, and we had young students as young as 7-year-old, 9-year-old participating in this particular trek. Now, if I have to answer the question, what inspired me to write this book? The inspiration to me, as I have written in the book as well, is that conversation which I had with the country's youngest mountaineer that time, Jannavi. So Jahnavi and I were keynote speakers in a company's annual day celebrations, and in that, when I heard this young girl, she was I think less than 14 at that time, and when she was speaking about discipline, dedication, and determination, I was sitting there, and as a teacher, I was observing this young child speaking with so much of confidence on three fundamental elements of life: discipline, dedication, and determination. I was wondering there that this is what we want to teach in our schools as well, isn't it? We may teach physics, we may teach mathematics, we may teach geography, but at the end of the day, the connecting chord is discipline, determination, and dedication. So then I walked up to her and said, why don't you come to school and talk to our parents, teachers, and students? Because if we tell be disciplined, it's like a sermon. But when a child speaks from her own journey, and she was giving examples like Professor Bhatta about how disciplined we need to be when we are on the mountain. You cannot afford to make a single mistake. I mean, there is no coming back. So that's the kind of a thing. So in short, that was what inspired me, and that is how the whole story took off. When she came to school, met the children, and when the children reciprocated saying we want to get on to the expedition, we want to do trekking, that's how the whole journey built up. Now, the second question which you asked, what is the key takeaway from the book? Why should people read the book one more step? Well, I think the simple reason, as Aslam and others were sharing even before I started speaking about the book, is it is filled with a lot of real life examples and learnings. And the most important attraction of the book is these lessons are from the lives of children. We all know that children can be great philosophers for their innocence, for their genuinity, for their sincerity. Now, when 25 people come together, you can imagine the group dynamics. You can imagine the kind of takeaways they have, the frustrations, the sadness which they express, and also that unity to overcome the obstacle in front of them. And when we look at life from their perspective, we kind of get lessons and also solutions to our real life problems. So, if you are looking at a new perspective for your own life, I think the answer may rest in the book and the journey of these 25 children. That's the takeaway from the book. And the last thing which I would like to tell you is, why? Why should parents and schools and educators read this book? Well, if I have to take a step back, I will go back to the origin of the human race. We all have this brain which has evolved over a period of time and which basically knows two responses. One is the fight response, and two is the flight response. So it's very common for all of us to flight, that is to escape from that reality or the situation to preserve self. Self-preservation is the key. Now, when you look at it, that origins from the fact of fear. And fear is of two kinds. One is the normal fear. Now, for modern day example, if you're crossing the road, you are scared. You're scared if a vehicle runs over you or hits you. That is good. You need to self preserve yourself and you need to be cautious and careful. Today, Corona, you need to be scared of the infection, and that's why you maintain social distancing, you wear a mask, or you use a hand sanitizer. The other fear, the other problem is the problem which I would like to address, and that's why this book, which is called as the abnormal fear. Abnormal fear, if I have to put it in a very lighter way, it's a gift which is given to us from our adults, our parents, our teachers. The society keeps giving us that fear in a gift wrap box. And that is, don't try that. You can't do it. No, you should not be attempting this. You just do this because I'm telling you this is the best thing for you to do. And let me be very honest. This fear stops lot of us from even trying out and pushing our hidden potential. I'll go back to the book and give you an example. I spoke about the girl Jannavi. It seemed this girl as young as 6 months old. Her father, Dr. Krishna Rao, who is no more, we lost him to the dreadful disease of cancer a couple of years ago, but he was there with us on the trek. He used to take her into the jungle for trekking. And when she was deciding to become a full-fledged mountaineer, when she was to get trained for her stamina, endurance by an athletic coach, when the introduction meeting was going on, the coach asked Janvi and Dr. Krishna that are you not scared to go on trekking alone, the mountain, the weather conditions and the steep and the slopes? Janvi at the age of 4.5 looks at her father and says, "What is fear?" And then Dr. Krishna Rao had to step in and say, "Sir, the girl does not know the word and the meaning of the word fear. I have brought her up like that." And today, we know what she has done. The country's youngest mountaineer, having scaled all the summits and now gearing up for Mount Everest as well as for the North Pole and the South Pole. So these gifts which we get, which are unwanted gifts from the society, I think the book has a message for that. We should just leave them unopened. Keep it, you don't have to return it and pass it to anybody. Just keep it unopened and then focus on what you have. Okay, I cannot go back and erase the meaning of fear in your mind, but through the book, I can only say this, that abnormal fear need not exist in our life. We don't have to worry about what if that happens, what if this happens. And in common language, we know it as fear of the unknown. We don't have to worry about that. Let's focus on what we have and push it. So in that context, this book is a message to all educators, teachers, parents, that how can we bring up our younger generation to face the new world, to face the 21st century and the challenges the 21st century has to offer. Because all of us know that by the time they grow up and come into the workforce or to the millennial age or their age of occupation, the world is not going to be the same. In fact, we see today, last 15 months, how world has changed. So the only thing we can do is to equip them with that spirit to fight without fear. Thank you.
That was really inspiring, sir. I am very sure this book is going to help people reflect about their own self and bring out the motivation towards many leadership activities in the future. That was really wonderful. Thank you, sir. I
Thank you.
would like to welcome Swaminathan, the CGO of SmartL, to give you the thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Panduranga Bhatta. Thank you so much, Dr. Chandrasekhar. A few points that I would like to probably highlight, or probably, I will talk about my learnings, what I have been learning for the past 40 or 45 minutes, and then maybe reflect on those points a little bit as I thank you for your time today and all the participants as well. Some of really excellent eye-opening insights. The first thing is like be humble from Bhatta sir's speech. So be humble. I mean, you can learn from anyone and everyone, and and at every time. You keep learning every day. And then if you know what to look for, you just have to be opening your eyes and opening your ears for that learning from anyone and everyone. So that is the first thing. And then stick to the basics. Sometimes we talk about, like, do we have to do something really different in the time of crisis? No, literally not. You still stick on to your basics. Mostly basics serves you best, and you just need to be a little bit street smart. That's it. But otherwise, you stick to the basics. And it is not just preaching, you practice. I mean, all of us know that we all say, okay, all of you wear masks, and then the moment we get a chance to not wear mask, we also remove it, and then look and check, like, okay, nobody's looking at us or not. And it kind of happens. It's human, but that is something which we have to overcome. It's by practicing. And work ethics and life ethics, I cannot emphasize more on this. I used to live in Japan. Maybe this added a little bit of value to this. If you are late by a minute to a particular meeting, so it means that you're wasting the time of 20 other people in the meeting. So which means that about 20 minutes are actually wasted of all the other people. So it is not just your time. You value the other people's time. And this is the first form of any human feeling that you should get, which is nothing but empathy, right? You empathize for others. You put yourself in others' shoes, as simple as that. Then persevere. It is not just enough to be on time for 2 meetings or 3 meetings or 4 meetings. You have to be day in and day out. Be there in the grind. I feel that when I work with and when I talk to a lot of youngsters these days, I will probably grab a few sentences from Simon Sinek, one of my favorite orators. So where he says that everything is, they want it immediate. Like, you want to go and watch a movie, you turn on Netflix. There is no need for waiting for a particular day on a Sunday. Where when I was a kid, I had to wait for Sunday to watch a movie, as simple as that, in the TV, because that's when it was broadcasted. Now on demand, which you want, Netflix, Hotstar, or Disney, wherever you want, you can get it. Even for as simple as a thing as dating, right? All you have to do is swipe right or swipe left. That's it. There is no emotional intelligence that is actually present in order to accomplish this particular activity. So which are very, very basic constructs which makes us humans, which makes us evolving beings as such. Then the last one, but the not least, integrity. Being honest when no one is watching. I had a chance of talking to Dr. Asim Premji a couple of times, my ex-CEO of Wipro. And if you see, the basic tagline of Wipro is integrity. I mean, integrity is always a tagline. And then this cannot be emphasized upon. And I mean, since I lived in Japan as well, I maybe will quote a couple of instances. I'm sorry if I'm boring, but a couple of instances. I lost my mobile phone in the bus in Japan and I got it back. I lost my wallet in the train and I got it back. I lost my tiffin box in the train and I got it back. I lost my umbrella in the train and I got it back. Now, there are two facts that actually come out. One is that I'm very bad in maintaining my property. I keep dropping things off and all those things. That's maybe I'm very clumsy. That's number one. The other thing is that I always get things back. The society has been brought in such a manner that you can be as a country, or you can be as a mass, say 100,000 people or 200,000 people, you can still have integrity. Now, I was just quoting to Dr. Bhatta and Dr. Chandrasekhar a few minutes before we actually started the meeting, was in Japan, the mode that we have in the phone, where we put the phone in silent mode, is not called as silent mode. It is called as manner mode. So it's as simple as that. I mean, the meaning is, why are we putting our mobile phone as silent? Is because we should not disturb others. So this is something which I believe is very important takeaways from Dr. Panduranga Bhatta's speech. And then I could, whenever he was telling, I was like, yeah, this is right. Yeah, this is right. I was like a small kid who was actually jumping over my chair and then saying, okay, I get this. So it was really brilliant, sir. And one new learning for me was the consequence management. I'm really interested. I think maybe in the next few weeks we want to talk about consequence management. I don't know what it is in detail. I know that if you don't do this, there will be a consequence. That's always there. We use it as a threat, but how do we use this as an opportunity? I'm really looking forward to maybe doing a next session on that, sir. And coming down to Dr. Chandrasekhar's the book, congratulations. Again, I have still not read the book. I am going to read it very soon as I can get hands of it. I'm not sure if it's a Kindle version available, so I'll go through that. And also want to meet Janvi. So, sir, probably you should introduce us to Janvi as well. We are really interested in meeting this individual. And why it is relevant, I think I heard your whole speech, and then why it is so relevant in today's world is that I was incidentally having a meeting with some of my HR leaders from different organizations, my friends, basically, who run 200 people teams, 300 people teams, and different organizations, from enterprises to even startups as such, friends. And then one thing we all agreed upon commonly in today is that the youngsters, I mean, we cannot call ourselves youngsters today. We are probably a generation old right now. The youngsters of today's generation, we look at the EQ to be pretty less. In what I say when I mean EQ is the emotional quotient. EQ is very good, awesome, superb. But when we measure the emotional quotient, and then say if we are having a meeting or if we are having a very serious discussion, and then where we say, no, this was done wrong, probably this should have been done correctly by in a different way to that particular individual, invariably, out of 7 out of 10 cases, there is a resignation email that comes a day later or within a few hours. Now, the topic of discussion or the topic of content there was completely on what was the problem. It was not focused on an individual, but what was the problem or what was the aspect that the person was actually working on. So now I go back to the feedback, what Panduranga Bhatta said in the beginning of the speech. The feedback analysis of, okay, there is a feedback comment, and that feedback comment is not on me, but on that particular problem. I have to focus on the problem. That seems to be not understood in the best essence in majority of the youngsters today. And that might be, that might be because there are many bad parents. That parents who are still shielding the kids, saying, okay, it's okay to take a very strong decision like putting a resignation or not agreeing to it or whatever it is. I mean, you can still have a discussion, but the first step cannot be the ultimate step. The ultimate step in a work culture is something like resigning, but that cannot be the first step of any individual. So that is when I heard to Dr. Chandrasekhar, and then I think, sir, your book is not relevant just to educationalists, just to students, just to parents. I feel that it is very relevant to every individual, because this journey of maybe the courage of the kids, or there might have been hundreds of places where they did not agree, but they still worked together as a team to achieve a particular, go and reach the base camp. So I will quote Gandhi and then end my note here. I'll say, be detached. I feel, as Gandhi says, as long as you are able to achieve your goal, and then the path that you take, of course, it should not be a very bad path, but you should be detached from the methodology. You should still be okay to say, as long as I achieve my goal, if I use a different path, which is suggested by someone which is better, and then which is able to get me there, that is something which we should all very sincerely hope for and very sincerely take into account. I thank you once again, Dr. Bhatta sir, and then Dr. Chandrasekhar, for a wonderful time, and I hope that this book is a grand success, and we will definitely order a few and keep in our office. We have a habit of keeping good books in our office. We will do that, and thank you so much, sir, and a lot of pleasure. So thanks, Radhika. Thanks for the arranging and setting this up. I hope that all the audiences were got to learn a lot from this particular session.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.